Hello and welcome to a new video. Today we're gonna take a look at Fly plus buffed Incinerate Talonflame in the Open Great League. Yes, we're going to have a tryhard team here, even though we're in rank 1, we're going to have some more funny stuff later on when all the tryhards are in our area. But of course, against those more, newer players here, we're going to completely destroy them with some sweaty tryhard teams here with the Talonflame. And honestly, you see already the Incinerate damage is absolutely wild. Like, I could not believe my eyes here. We're going to be able to like 4-shot with Incinerate, I think, the Trevenant, which would have never happened before. The damage output of this Pokemon is so ridiculous, it is mad. I was actually surprised on how strong it actually was, but honestly, it just destroyed so many teams on its own. Plus, Fly gonna give you an option to get to a charge move even faster now, which is absolutely wild, as well as Fly is a very strong charge move as well. Like, it's going to be so good because you're also not gonna debuff yourself with a flying type stab move. It is so ridiculous. But yeah, let me know in the comment section what team you are playing right now in the early ranks. Here, of course, going to be only for this video. Afterwards, I'm going to swap it up a little bit. Also, what I can say now is that all these stats got released, and I can actually go a little bit through them. For example, Breaking Swipe went down to 50% debuff chance, which I already said in a video, which I kinda got leaked before. There were other things like Mud Step gets +1 energy, but interestingly enough, the Steel Wing got +2 energy, and we're gonna take a look at this one most likely in the next video as well, as Skarmory now going to be one of the top meta threats in the Great League, because +2 energy was more than I ever expected and more than it actually needed to be meta. So now it's going to be one of the most strongest Pokemon again, which I feel like is not even a bad thing. I feel like Skarmory is a cool Pokemon to have, and it's going to break up a little bit the Lickitung plus Medicham core, which is kind of cool. So I actually kind of appreciate it. I think it might be a little bit too broken on the long run, but we have to look at this a little bit more. But again, going to buff a little bit the Lantern, which you're going to have here in the lead. You could argue of going for a different Pokemon, as this team can be a little bit weak against Mudboys. Mudboys can break both the lead as well as the Talonflame in the back. For example, Charizard would be a little bit better in the back instead of the Talonflame, because the flying type damage is actually hitting the Swampert, for example, pretty hard. So yeah, definitely still a very solid team though. For the early ranks, I also battled quite a few decent opponents. It was definitely a solid team to go for. And also we're going to have here, of course, the Rock Slide variant of Vigoroth already. Didn't really want to make a highlight video of just this Pokemon, so I think this is going to be fine to put into just some more teams over the next few days. Let's move on to the next opponent. We're going to have a Golisopod in the lead. This is going to be not really the most competitive team here, I guess, against us, as they're also running Waterfall over the Shadow Claw, allowing me to go for a Thunderbolt. This is going to get easily the knockout against the opponent, as you're going to see them going into their Altaria. This is something that I actually kind of realized as well recently. I was tanking for the end of the season because I just didn't have enough time to really do my battles, because I made so many videos towards the new season, and I did like some battles then in like the 2000 rating. It's a completely different meta there compared to what you encounter in like higher up meta, where I encountered so many basically old meta Pokemon like Altaria, which was kind of interesting to see. Here we're going to have again someone that is actually more having a lot of fun, I guess, well, something like a Flygon. Double Dragon Backline does make some kind of sense, but again, it's not really the best Dragon type Pokemon here, as we can move on to our Talonflame. And again, this matchup going to be so much better now, because our Incinerate is going to put the opponent to a range where we can just go for a Fly, and also Fly doesn't debuff our defense, which I kind of honestly have to get used to, because I was like, every time I wanted to go into my Talonflame, I was like, I cannot really risk it to drop my defense. I don't drop my defense anymore. I just do hard hitting flying type damage with it already. That's absolutely insane. Next opponent, yes, you're going to see those matchups as well. You're going to have here the Metal Claw variant of the Galarian Stunfisk, but they're going to have a Toxapex in the back. So this is going to be not the best matchup for us, and this is something that can happen very easily in the lower ranks as well, where you're going to encounter teams that literally don't make any sense at all, but they're going to hard counter you. But it's going to be okay here, because I should be able to still survive a Sludge Wave from a 1400 CP one. But it's going to be a Gunk Shot, which is absolutely wild. And as you can see, I'm gonna go still for the Surf, expecting them to still get to another charge move, but they're going to decide to use a shield and still allow me to farm them down. So I honestly don't really know what they're trying to do here, but we can still go for a Surf against the Galarian Stunfisk. And we can even catch now a move onto our Talonflame, which I was a little bit too risky. Here to no shit, because if it's just the Rock Slide in the earlier ranks, I would have been a little bit devastated. But here we're gonna now get a Sucker Punch variant of the Gengar, exactly what you not want to run, because Shadow Claw is 20 times better than Sucker Punch. But look again at the damage of Incinerate. It is so wild. It's literally like hitting a charge move with something like a Carbink here, but it's just your fast move with Incinerate, which is just mad. We can buff ourselves a little bit more and we can win this game pretty easily. Let's take a look at the next opponent. We're going to have the Quagsire here. Quagsire is going to be, again, what I said before, a little bit of a core breaker. I decided to swap out actually into my hardest enter into the Vigoroth, hoping that they would stay in here because it is early ranks. A lot of people are just staying in with their Pokemon because they don't really know how to do really anything with those Pokemon there. Because, like, yeah, you kind of want to keep it alive, especially if you have something like a Scourge in the back. You kind of need to keep it alive for the Lanturnator. But like this, we are going to be in a very decent position as we're going to get the Rock Slide actually shielded here, which is going to be fine. But I can just go for another Rock Slide, gonna get them low enough that we should be able to farm them down with Spark on our Lantern. We can let the move go through. It's going to be first a Disarming Voice, which is going to be great for us, but they could already have the Shadow Ball, so I'd rather be safe than sorry and use a shield, and it was a Shadow Ball, so we can now go for the full farm down, have a Surf stored, and again Quagsire is coming in here, and now we're going to be in a great matchup. They should have swapped out a little bit earlier, I guess, but we can now swap into our Talonflame, catching a Mud Bomb, doing basically 0 damage, and they're going to have a Sableye in the back, allowing us to flip a little bit around here with the Flame Charge, going to get the attack buff against the opponent, and like this we're going to have a great time there. But yeah, for the opponent there, definitely would have been better for them to most likely swap out a little bit earlier, or just go for a Mud Bomb because they outspeed me as well and then swap out. But like this, we're going to be able to just go for a Fly, knock them all out, and win this game. Next opponent, let's see if we're going to have a bad matchup again. No, we're going to have a Noctowl in the lead. Noctowl is going to be amazing for us, and they decide to stay in for a little bit, and I'm just going to decide to go up basically for a lot of energy, and the opponent decides to swap out into the Swampert. Of course, I don't know what we have in the back, but for us, this is basically perfect, as we can align our Vigoroth, we can take a move here, and so we're going to get either the shield advantage now, or the knockout against the opponent, which is going to give us a switch advantage. What advantage do we get? We're going to get the switch advantage. I'm more than happy with this, as we're going to encounter a Medicham in the back. And now Medicham are mainly running Ice Punch plus the Dynamic Punch, which is going to be very nice for our Talonflame as well. But maybe they're still running Psychic, but Psychic got minus 10 damage, which is really important for this matchup as well. They're actually still running Psychic, which is still going to hurt quite a bit because, yeah, Talonflame is not the bulkiest Pokemon, but we can now swap out into a bulky Pokemon with our Lantern, gaining some extra energy. I think this might be a CMP tile. Let's take a look at this Shadow Ball coming through. I know it was not a CMP tile. We can still go for a Surf, and we had 100 energy, and now after this one we're going to still be at 60 energy, going to be able to go for the Surf spam against the opponent. We just try to get the shields away from the opponent so we can just go for a final fly with our Talonflame in order to knock them out. As we can see, we can go for another Surf, gonna get the shield, and like this we should be kinda easily able to win this game, as we can go for the Fly, and Fly is gonna get super effective damage and an easy KO against the Medicham. This is going to actually still take a little bit because I guess they're forfeited, but let's move on to the next game. Next game coming up, we're going to have a Gligar in the lead. How do you want to play against this one? You're going to stay in for a little bit, because he should be able to outspeed the opponent to the first move here and go for a Surf before they can go for a Dig, and you swap out immediately here, trying to catch a move onto your Vigoroth, which works out really well. Having a shield advantage is so overpowered with having a Talonflame in the back, and getting out the Carbon here is going to be nice, but I decided to go for a little bit too much of a risky play here. I should have went for the Rock Slide earlier. I wanted to go for a CMP type, but I thought that he had one more fast move, so that was on my fault there. And this is actually going to make this matchup way worse for me, because otherwise the Surf would have been enough to knock them into a range where I can farm them all the way down. So this is really bad for me, as I'm now going to be forced to use a shield against the Rock Slide, and I can still not go for the full farm down, forcing me to go for a Surf, and they are going to most likely let this move go through the amount of HP that they have left. They're going to have a Lurantis in the back, and let's take a look at the damage of Incinerate again. It is so mad. I can just go for a Fly, expecting the opponent to not use their shield here because I expect a Flame Charge, but no, they decide to use a shield, which is still fine for us because Fly is just charging up so fast here, which is just so mad. Like, honestly, Fly is like such a strong move. It's going to make this Pokemon so much more consistent, especially. Yes, Brave Bird is going to be very nice once in a while, but still I feel like Fly is going to be the preferred move on this Pokemon. As you can see here, we can just go for the Fly and going to get an easy knockout against the opponent's Lurantis. Moving on to the next one, let's take a look at what they're going to run here. We're going to have the Talonflame in the lead, which is going to be amazing for us again, as they're going to decide to swap out into the Lickitung. We're going to have the best matchup here basically with our Vigoroth. We have to go still for at least one charge move, maybe even two, in order to realign without really any issue, but I could just even decide to go for a full farm down here, as I can easily take a Body Slam and I can even take another one afterwards. But I decided to still go for a charge move because this forces the opponent's Talonflame to still throw a move while I still should be able to outspeed them to the Rock Slide, which is going to be very good for me, as I can now try to get a shield advantage here or get the knockout against the opponent. We're gonna get the shield advantage. They're still forced to throw because I would be able to reach another one, and I can reach another one here, which is going to get a damage onto the opponent's Lantern, and now I can align my own Lantern, and this should put them into range 1 Thunderbolt, which is going to be very good for me because I still have a shield advantage, I still have my Lantern, and now I should be able to go for a full farm down, which is gonna be so amazing against the opponent's Talonflame. Maybe I should have used the shield here because Talonflame's moves are all resisted while this was neutral damage from a stab Thunderbolt, but we're gonna get the shield advantage here. And I'm going to actually use a shield as well, which I find kind of interesting. I didn't even remember this. Should have most likely not do this and just kept my shields for my own Talonflame. But as you can see, the opponent gonna go for a Flame Charge. I'm fine with that. I can go into my own Talonflame. I get always a fast move through. And so I should be able to outspeed them to the next charge move here with the Fly coming through. Gonna get the knockout and we can easily win this game. Let's take a look at the next opponent here. We're going to encounter a Talonflame in the lead. A great lead for us, as we will see the swap out again into the Lickitung. And this is why Vigoroth is so strong. Lickitung was a very solid say swap in the last meta, basically. And so people kind try to adapt and kind try to keep the Lickitung as a say swap. But this will allow us to basically punish them with our Vigoroth, which is going to be such a great matchup because the opponent's fast move is double resisted while our fast move is super effective against the opponent, allowing us to go for a full farm down here, but I still have to go for a charge move first, as this body slam. Gonna secure that I don't have to use a shield, and now I can go for a Rock Slide against the opponent's Talonflame, getting a shield from the opponent. Because they're forced to use a shield here, I will be able to just go into my Lantern again, and they swap out into their Registeel. And like this game is game over because we're going to be able to completely hardwall them. Honestly, the damage output from Talonflame is just so mad. Look at the incinerate damage here chunking away on the Registeel. Second to last battle for today already. It's going to be a fast one here, of course, but we're going to encounter the Gligar against us in the lead. I can go for the Surf again, and I'm going to swap out immediately into my Vigoroth, trying to catch a move, and it's going to be the Dig from the opponent, as we're going to get out the Medicham. Getting completely hardwalled so far is not really ideal, but we can still maybe try to manage to get a win here, hopefully, as I can still go for a charge move. I should go ahead and go into my Talonflame and do exactly this, as I can now go for a Flame Charge afterwards, before the opponent should get to another move. They're gonna go for the Ice Punch, but never mind, they're gonna get to another move here because of that, which is going to be another Ice Punch. So I can overfarm by at least one here, which I feel like would be appropriate, but I decided to not do this and go for a straight Flame Charge. And I should try to swap out here, but they're going to swap in their Carbink, and they can farm me down in time, which is really bad for me, because if I saved my Talonflame, I would have had such an easier time here for the end game. I can use a shield, but they're still going to have their Gligar in the back, which is going to be definitely a little bit tricky, especially as I need 2 Surfs to knock out the opponent's Carbink. It's going to be a tough one, as I can still try to go for a CMP tie, which works out super well for me. This is going to be enough to knock them out, and they decide to use a shield here instead, which can be a little bit tricky, but I will be able to outspeed the opponent's other Gligar. But sadly, they are not the Shadow variant. If they were the Shadow variant, I'm fairly certain I should be able to win this game, but like this, we are not going to be able to do this, as the Surf does not do enough damage, my fast move does not do enough damage, and the opponent can go for the Dig, and this is going to be the only loss I took. So, final game for today, we're going to have a Clodsire in the lead. You might think, yeah, this is going to be a tough one, but honestly, you can kind of do the exact same thing that you did to Gligar. Just go for a super effective Surf and then swap out. And this is something that you kind of want to do in general against those matchups, because you kind of want to weaken them up. You don't have a clear answer against something like Clodsire or Gligar. You have decent answers, but you don't have a clear answer, so it is just better to chip and dip, basically, as we can now go into our Vigoroth against the opponent's what's called the opponent's Azumarill here, going to be fine. But we're going to chunk quite a bit, but I can just go and get some damage with my Body Slam, and now I can go ahead and just let the move go through and go for a full farm down with my Lantern. This should leave me with so much energy that even the Clodsire does not want to come back into me, and so I should get even maybe out the final Pokemon, but we have to see about this. As they're gonna go for the Play Rough, I can go for the exactly full farm down there. They're gonna go into their final Pokemon. It is going to be the Lickitung, and this is going to be game over, because Lickitung can just not handle the Incinerate of our Talonflame here. We can now use no shield actually, because it's going to be just one Body Slam, which can easily survive. And I can just go for the Fly, because Fly is a little bit cheaper, 5 cheaper than the Flame Charge. And so I'm gonna get there a little bit easier, and we're gonna do a ton of damage, which the opponent maybe not expected. But I can just use a shield here onto the Body Slam now and keep my energy for the incoming incoming Pokemon, which is going to be the Azumarill. We farm them down, and it's just going to be the Clodsire now, and I just try to get some damage onto them, as well as just boost my own attack with the Flame Charge here. This is going to allow me to use even another shield here, but it's going to allow me to get the final shield from the opponent, while also putting them at the same time into range for Surf from my Lantern. They're still going to be able to knock out my Talonflame, which I actually did not really expect, but they should be energy dry right now, especially after an Earthquake, and so the Surf is going to be all it takes to knock them out. And that's going to be it for this video. If you enjoyed this one, feel free to leave a like, subscribe if you haven't already, and check out the videos on the screen, and I see you then. Bye bye.